We now welcome in the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Hawk to Sports Nation. I think all of us are so pumped. Tony, are you still riding high, by the way, by that 720 that you pulled off 5 weeks ago?
Sure. Yeah, whatever I can get.
It's incredible when you think about it, because you're 52 years young, seeing you out there continuing to love, take part in a sport that is a joy to watch. Do you think you'll be skating to the wheels fall off, literally and figuratively?
I hope so. I do get asked that a lot, especially like, well, how old can you be? And I think that I'll probably keep skating in some form. I feel like if I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet, I'll be able to stand on a skateboard and ride around.
Is there ever a moment where you're like, oh, that hurt. Maybe this was really stupid?
Oh, yeah. Actually, last summer in June, I dislocated these 2 fingers.
Oh,
yep.
I had that exact thought when that happened.
I'm sure you like to pursue other interests to kind of take up your time in that regard, right? Like to kind of keep the safety at an all-time high. But one of those potential other interests is the documentary you're narrating and launching on March 8th entitled Go Forth. What exactly is that about? 3 of GoDaddy's customers who are in the sort of action sports genre that I live in have created their own businesses, and it follows their journey of transitioning from being an athlete to more of an entrepreneur, but also the struggles that they endure. It sort of shows it in real time of how a pandemic affects their business and their plans and how they have to pivot into new direction. And I basically am there to lend my experience and my expertise.
As it pertains to your classic video game, and Trevor knows this better than anyone, was Activision's initial $500,000 buyout in the late 1990s. Since Go Forth showcases your business expertise, will you tell Sports Nation a little bit about that story? And before you do so, can you please be my financial advisor at some point?
Yeah, well, we had worked on what became Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. We worked on that for almost 2 years before the release. And I didn't have high hopes for it. And as the buzz was building towards the release, Activision could tell that it was going to do a lot better than they expected. So upon the first release, they said, we want to offer you a buyout of future royalties for $500,000. In those days, I had never heard anyone speak the words $500,000 to my face. Yeah. It sounded like saying a gazillion billion dollars to me. But at the same time, I was doing pretty well with my business, Spurt House. I was doing pretty well with my income as a skater in terms of competition earnings and royalties and things. And I had just bought a new house. And so I felt like I was living comfortably beyond worrying about video game royalties. And so that was why I took a chance and said no. For sure, it was the best financial decision I ever made, but it felt crazy at the time. Like I said, someone offering me that much money, like that's life-changing.
Another thing that you were great at is Twitter. Your Twitter game, like off the charts, and you love the interactions of random strangers and the funny things that you document of strangers coming up to you. You look like that Tony Hawk guy. Do you have a single favorite interaction?
I think my favorite one was one of the first ones that I shared, because that's when I realized how often it happens to me, and that if someone were to view it out from the outside, they kind of wouldn't believe it. I was actually coming home from a heli snowboard trip in Alaska, and I was showing my ID to the TSA officer, and my ID says Anthony Hawk. I was born Anthony Hawk. I've never been known as Anthony, but when I showed my ID, the woman said, "Hawk, oh, like that skateboarder Hawk." And I said exactly. And she said, "Oh, I wonder what he's up to these days." And I said this, thinking that was gonna sort of make her realize it. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she just handed it back to me, and off I went. And it wasn't until it was literally when I was sitting at the gate waiting for my flight that I realized, oh, that was actually really funny. And so I just wrote it down and shared it. And that's kind of what started, I guess, the meme.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.